Okay, today we got head coach, women's basketball head coach Michelle Ferenz on the show today. Michelle, thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, John.
Well, I just want to first ask how you're doing, how your family's doing. Michaela's playing overseas. Just give us give us an update how your family's doing during this pandemic.
We're really blessed. I mean, all's been fine. Probably the chaos was at the start for all of us. Michaela was still playing in Luxembourg when this all broke out, and Europe got hit first, so her season got canceled pretty abruptly. Basically, things went into lockdown over there, and so I pretty much got home from our trip to Maine, and basically I was on the phone with her the whole time we were in Maine trying to get her home, and basically got home, slept for about 12 hours, got in the car to go over and pick her up in Seattle. We got her home on one of the last flights out of Luxembourg to England, to Britain, before they all closed things down. So we got her home safely, and she's waiting to hear. Has a couple offers to go back in August, September. They're getting back to life back there. They're starting, as you can see on TV. The soccer leagues and such are starting. So the plans are to start basketball again in the fall. But she did miss out on her second season. She was supposed to go straight from Luxembourg to Australia. She was signed with a team in Melbourne, and that got derailed and canceled. So she's pretty disappointed. But no, right now she's hanging out with us. Other daughter Kate graduated, kind of like everybody else, without a graduation ceremony from Carroll College in nursing. So spent some time helping her move last week. Tried to go to Montana, which is starting to open. So tried to get her moved out of her place in Helena, and she's moving on to. She has a job in Billings, so in a couple months. So things, we're making do. Husband is, Chris is doing the Walla Walla School District stuff. Big week out of Wahai, graduation week. So
yeah.
They've got a bunch of cool stuff planned for the seniors. I think they've really done a great job.
How has this affected your recruiting, off-season workouts, just staying in touch with your team?
Recruiting is, recruiting's been different. We usually spend some time on the road in the spring, and that didn't happen. We are trying to organize and get ready. The summer looks like July. There's going to be some tournaments, and so we're trying to get organized for that. But already started in class of the next year's class. Still trying to finish up a little bit this year's class. We still have waiting to hear from a couple kids who were a little late in the process, but yeah, so just this will be our first week of really operating with doing a couple meetings with our 4 that have committed, with the kids that are coming back. So I call it it's just the new wave, I guess, the new roster. I don't know how you say it, but we'll start doing some virtual stuff with them. But spring was weird. For us, spring for us is just we take a little time off, but when we get back, we do some cool stuff. We start working out, we start doing some weights, but it's really, we do a cornhole tournament. We do some barbecues. We do sand volleyball for workouts. We really try to make spring fun, and we really miss that about not having the kids on campus. And so we did a lot. We did the weekly meetings, the virtual stuff. The kids were really creative. We had a trick shot contest, a TikTok contest, Kahoot. I was the subject of the Kahoot thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Kahoot, but it's kind of a trivia thing. And so all the questions are about how well do you know Coach? So I was really surprised which ones were actually the winners. It was kind of cute. So last week we played bingo, basketball bingo. And so we just try to make it fun.
Basically.
Yeah. The thing about spring for our team, for our season, the way things are, it is about fun. It's about, being together, building for next year. Basketball players are social creatures. They love to work out together, so that's been the hard part. And then trying to help them with workouts, try to give them some things to do. Kayla Marnie did some great videos, just try to give some resources so they feel like they're still moving forward. So in some ways, a lot more work than them being here. really had to be very deliberate about connecting, and them being here is a lot easier. They'll just come in the office, or you can like take a few to lunch. We had to be, just reaching out and keeping those, even those individual connections about addressing not problems, just checking in on some issues. They're great kids, and so.
Moving ahead to your incoming class, we announced that last month. 4 newcomers coming in for next fall. That was in the release. Talk about that class and your expectations of them.
For just, I'm really, really excited about them. I just feel like they just fit so well with what we needed. We obviously lost a great group of seniors. These 5, 4 years have just been so impactful at our program, and, their record shows it. I mean, they're the most successful class I've ever coached here, and most successful class in the history of our program. But what we have coming back is we're going to be young. We don't have a lot of upperclassmen, but our to-be sophomore class, was so integral in just really boosting us this year, giving us some amazing play and some great practices. So we needed a group to come in that could really fit with them, and I really feel like we got it. Corinne and Kaylin, Corinne Baker is an all-state. I mean, she's the player of the year in small school basketball here in the state of Washington. Corinne is a very gifted scorer, and the fact that she plays in a small school, she's really well-rounded. I mean, she's a 6', 6'1" kid who can go out and shoot the 3. I mean, she can handle the ball. So she was a really good get for us. And then, Lindsay and Kaylin and Jessica all also bring great background. Great, they all played at a high level with their clubs. Kaylin is going to help us in the post a little bit. She's strong. She's really a strong player, really smart, good shooting touch. Jessica, I'm really excited because I feel like Jessica hasn't really developed as well. I mean, not as well, but I just think I think she's going to come here and really thrive in our program. She's a really good rebounding guard. She's got a great shooting touch. Just really excited about her potential. She's 5'10", 5'11". I mean, she's a tall guard. And then Lindsay Drangle's somebody we chased a long time. And Lindsay is a 6'1" guard. I mean, she just is. If she hadn't been hurt, she's suffered a couple knee injuries and missed chunks of her career. I don't know where she'd be, but we're really glad to have her because I think, she's got a ton of potential, and we needed length, we needed rebounding, we needed scoring around the hoop. That's what we lost. And so, anyway, that's what we got. And that's what I'm excited to fill in. And we're still got a couple that we're waiting to hear on. Hopefully the next couple of weeks we'll just be done. But there's a couple. I mean, I think that was one of the weird things about this pandemic is the kids that didn't visit campus already. I mean, they're hesitant, and there's a little bit of a struggle. Yeah. And so we're still working on a couple things, but really like our 4. I think they're just they're great fits for college. They're great people. I mean, they just couldn't ask for better people to fit right in with our crew.
I wanted to close with, would be remiss not to mention the experience that your student athletes had this past winter. I know everybody knows, but your season came to a close unexpectedly when the NCAA tournament was canceled. You guys were in the Sweet 16. It happened the day before you're going to play Oglethorpe University up in Maine, hosted by Bowdoin. But what was that experience like when you were told before the team was? I think you shared that with them after practice. You waited so they could have a nice practice. What was that moment like when you learned it, and then when you shared it with your team and your coaches? There's only a handful of teams in the country went through that. How was that?
I think when you talk about things, coaches are control freaks. I mean, we just are by nature. We work really hard to be really good at what we can control. And, the things that are the hardest things to deal with in coaching are illness, injury, and I guess a pandemic. I guess that adds to the list. I mean, there's just things like that. I kind of like when a player loses a parent, or, there's, or God forbid you lose one of your kids, is lost forever. I mean, I dealt with that as a high school coach, where I lost a girl was killed in a car accident at the end of our season. And, those are the things that really put things in perspective. Why do we do what we do? What is the end game? And, that moment, all I could think about, I mean, I knew I was powerless. I kind of felt it coming too. My thing was when the NBA canceled, like the day before. When we were en route, the NBA was looking at canceling games because of their outbreak, and
there was a lot of uncertainty heading into that round about it even being played. Yeah.
And so I think there was that intuitive feeling like maybe we won't get to play, but then there's always the optimist. I'm like, no, they're not going to send us all the way to Maine and not let us play, and you just got to keep going. You got to be prepared. But at that moment, all I can think about was the kids. All I can think about was the players. I mean, I'll be back. I mean, I'm going to get another chance to coach, but they don't get another chance to be who they were, and they had worked so hard. And they had invested so much energy and emotion, and they had just played. I mean, playing in Iowa against, the number one team in our region all year, pretty much, Wartburg, beating a very good Wheaton team without our All-American, without McConnell on the floor. This team had their confidence was sky high. I mean, we had gotten lift and performance out of kids, and they were so in tune and believing. Their confidence was scary, to be honest. I mean, it's one of those things that you don't experience all the time as a coach, where a team has just really, they were just beyond my expectations in some respects. And I know how much those seniors had invested. I mean, I've had great kids at Whitman College all the way through, but these 5 really stayed invested and stayed together. They were willing to do some things and get out of their comfort zone to be successful. And that was the hard part for me, was as an athlete and knowing how fleeting that is, it's been 30 years, but I still remember, and how hard it is to have it end that way. It was pretty emotional. I'll be honest. It was hard. I didn't really know what to say to them. I mean, we have no reference for this. The only thing I told him is, the only thing I can think even close with my grandparents. My grandmother graduated from high school in 1941. Her graduation week, she basically graduated because she graduated mid-year, was the same week as Pearl Harbor. And she used to talk about how life came to a halt. It just came to a halt. Life as they knew it, everything she thought she was going to do changed, and I had no reference for that, and now I do. I mean, I guess, unfortunately, but that was the hard part. I just told them that. I said, it doesn't take away from what you did. It just doesn't. I mean, you did things right. You worked every day. There's so many lessons to be learned about the journey, and I think that's what we have to remember, that the journey is what's important. The relationships, the friendships, the experiences and the journey and what you've learned. And so that was, once we've had some space and time, I think they're there. But there'll always be a little, when I did their picture, did a team picture of what you took of us when we cut down the nets for the North Conference Championship. I had our, conference championships put on it, national tournament Sweet 16. I put a little asterisk next to it. That's going to be this team will always have I feel they've earned the right to have an asterisk next to their NCAA tournament Sweet 16, because not so much that it was totally unfair to us, but I feel like they have the right to tell the story. They have a right to own what they did. They have the right to tell their version of events and what it meant. And so when people look up at the banner that will eventually hang in Sherwood, and they see that little, I'm going to battle for that asterisk, and they see that asterisk, they're going to go, what does that mean?
It's an opportunity to explain and share the story.
To tell our story again, to say, we did it all right. And tell the power of what an incredibly invested group of individuals can do and really own the journey. Because that was their thing all year, was owning the process. We're going to own the process. We're going to own the process. And they did. They did. And they have nothing. They should be incredibly proud of themselves and nothing to hang their heads about. So I told them the asterisks, we're going to own the asterisks now, not the process, the asterisks. We're going to own it. It's our story and we're going to tell it. And so that's kind of where I left it. I mean, it was really hard not having a banquet for this group. I'm really glad that our senior parents
There's a lot to celebrate. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that our senior parents, they did just an amazing senior night event. They wanted to do something. Our underclassmen did a great video honoring our seniors. It was just so, I'm so, in hindsight, I am so glad that happened for this group. I really am. So yeah, it's, you know what it was, you know, it was probably, you know, you and Brian were the only guys in the gym, so nothing like, you know, it was a lot of tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was, but
Those kind of wins that happened in the first and second round, Wheaton and Wartburg, I mean, those were great wins, comeback wins. I hope that they take away, obviously, the disappointment of not continuing the tournament, but remembering those wins. I mean, had the season come to end against Oglethorpe, you know, the Wheaton and the Wartburg wins should have been the highlight of the season. And I for me, that's what my takeaway from the season. Is that kind of the lasting memory that the players and the team, the coaches have now, or is it still a lot of disappointment?
The hard part about the season ending like it was, or like it did, was just, like I said, this team was so confident. They were so in tune. They just knocked off. I mean, when I watched Wheaton and Wartburg and knew we weren't going to have McCona, I just was like, okay, we had I thought we had a great game plan. Especially had our kids came in that Wartburg, the morning of Wartburg, and we had to make a couple adjustments defensively with some young players. You know, we had to make for Megan Taylor and Sophia, and some of those kids that were going to have to maybe go in there and play some stretches of minutes could really absorb. And they were on point. They executed some switching and some backside adjustments that were, I mean, they were impressive. And that's a team that's just locked in. That's a team that, you know, they weren't looking for an excuse. They wanted to continue to play, and that's where they were. They were going to give Wartburg all they can handle, and that's what they did. And you know, and I look at like Macy Hampton stepping out there. I mean, Kyra Young, huge three. I mean, Megan Taylor has a massive block. That is what, in the perfect world of coaching, that is our ultimate fantasy, to have your kids, all your players, so in tune like that. My bench is just out of control there. I can't even walk my bench and do my normal stalking because I keep running into these kids just screaming at the top of their lungs. And they were just really locked in and focused in it. And so I feel like, yes, we got our job done, and we played to our potential. We owned it. And the hard part was not getting McCona back out on the floor. Sure. And her and Maddie to play together. You know, Maddie was sick going into the main, but she was going to suck it up. You know, just giving them a chance to play together, that group again. You know, Katie Stahl, what a great last few games she had. I mean, just, you know, all the injuries she played through. What a great kid. And Natalie stepped up. I mean, I could just go on and on and on and on. I probably would, but yeah. So, you know, but hopefully our returners will take those lessons with them about the process and what the process was, and how positive and proactive our seniors were this year, and how focused and committed they were, and their willingness to they just did about everything they could do to do things right. And so hopefully, you know, the next group learned from that, and they'll just build on it. And it's going to be different though. We'll be really young. Yeah, it'll be a different group. Instead of having the target on our backs as the you know, the top of the conference, we were picked to win the conference. You know, McCona was probably, and Maddie were first team all league returners. Maddie's an all region returner. I mean, we were in the marked women all year. I mean, I hate to say it that way. We were, everybody gave us their best game. And so it'll be different next year because we won't be picked to win the conference. We shouldn't be picked to win the conference. And, and so it'll be different, but the league will also be different. So the opportunity is just going to be, it'll be new and fresh, and hopefully they learn the lessons about how to own it. That's all I can ask for.
Yeah, it's not often you can finish your season with 2 great wins in the NCAA tournament, but that's how the season ended.
And not bring home a really big trophy. That's the only way that happens, there's only one team that normally gets to do that, but this year there were 16 of them. So I guess we all get to 1/16 of national champions, but it's been unique. Every time I think I've seen it all in coaching, it doesn't happen that way. So, but yeah, so I'm really proud. This class of 2020 has just been, they were an amazing group, and but yeah, I'm excited for next year too. I really am. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a different energy, a different vibe, but it's going to be fun. That's what keeps me coming back, is the challenge and the opportunity to really grow a new group. So, and this will be a chance to grow a new group.
Well, great conversation here, Michelle. I appreciate you coming on. You and your family take care, and we'll see you down the road, okay?
Thank you, and I didn't mean to keep you so long. But, you started talking about your team.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I know the trap of talking to coaches, I know. So, anyway, you take care, John.
All right, take care.